The first time Mason Sawyer noticed Gabriella Evans across his friend's cluttered living room, he had dirt under his fingernails from fixing the playground at his daughter's elementary school. He never imagined that his calloused hands would someday be intertwined with those of a woman worth billions, or that she would be looking at him like he was the valuable one. "Dad, can I have another cookie?" 6-year-old Lily tugged at Mason's worn jeans, her big brown eyes so much like her mother's pleading up at him. "Just one more, sweetheart. We don't want to eat all of Uncle Tyler's cookies." Mason smoothed his daughter's unruly curls, the same shade of chestnut brown as his own. Tyler Hammond, Mason's best friend since high school, approached with a woman Mason had never seen before. She wore simple jeans and a white blouse, her honey blonde hair pulled back in a casual ponytail. Nothing about her screamed wealth, but everything about her commanded attention. "Mason, this is Gabriella Evans. She's consulting on the community center renovation project. Gabby, this is my oldest friend, Mason Sawyer, and his daughter, Lily. It's nice to meet you both." Gabriella's smile was genuine as she crouched down to Lily's level. "I like your rainbow bracelet." "Did you make it?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "My dad helped me. He's really good at making things." "Is that so?" Gabriella glanced up at Mason with curious green eyes. "I'm a carpenter," Mason explained with a modest shrug. "Nothing fancy, just residential work." "Lately, more repairs than new builds with the economy being what it is." "Daddy can fix anything," Lily proclaimed proudly. Mason felt his cheeks warm. At 32, he'd adjusted to life as a single father after losing his wife to cancer 3 years ago, but he still struggled with accepting compliments, especially in front of strangers. "That's an incredible skill to have," Gabriella said. "Much more useful than what I do, stare at spreadsheets and negotiate contracts all day," Tyler snorted. "She's being modest." "Gabby here is just passing through town for this project," she interrupted, shooting Tyler a look Mason couldn't decipher. "I'm going to grab a drink." "Can I get either of you anything?" Mason shook his head. "I'm driving, but thanks." As Gabriella walked away, Tyler leaned in. "She's single, you know." "Tyler, don't start," Mason warned. "I'm not looking. It's been 3 years, Mace. Jenny would want you to be happy." Mason watched Lily wander over to play with Tyler's cat. "Lily is my priority. Dating isn't exactly easy when you're a full-time dad with inconsistent work hours and a checking account that frequently flirts with empty." Tyler sighed. "Just come to the community center tomorrow. They could use your expertise and it pays well, and if you happen to run into Gabby again, well." He winked. Mason rolled his eyes but found himself agreeing. The next morning, Mason dropped Lily off at school and drove his aging pickup truck to the community center. The building had been the heart of their small Pennsylvania town for decades, but years of budget cuts had left it in disrepair. As he pulled into the parking lot, he noticed a sleek silver Audi with tinted windows. It looked out of place among the practical sedans and trucks. Inside, he found Gabriella studying blueprints, her hair now pulled into a neat bun. She looked up and smiled when she saw him. "Tyler mentioned you might come by. I'm glad you did. I heard you needed a carpenter's eye on the project." "And I heard you need the work," she replied straightforwardly. "I don't believe in dancing around topics. This project has a good budget and we need skilled local craftspeople." Mason appreciated her directness. "Then I'm your guy. I've been working with wood since I was Lily's age." They walked through the building together, and Mason pointed out structural issues that weren't visible on the blueprints. Gabriella took notes on a tablet, asking intelligent questions that showed she understood more about construction than she'd initially let on. "Where did you learn so much about building renovation?" he asked as they examined water damage in a ceiling corner. "My father was in construction before She hesitated. "Before he moved on to other things. I spent a lot of time on job sites as a kid. Lily does the same with me sometimes." "She can already name most of my tools," Gabriella smiled. "She seems like a wonderful child. She's my whole world," Mason said. "After her mom died, it was just the two of us. We've figured it out together." "I'm sorry for your loss," Gabriella said quietly. "That must have been incredibly difficult." "It still is, some days, but Lily gives me a reason to get up every morning." They continued their tour, the conversation flowing easily between professional observations and personal anecdotes. By lunchtime, Mason had been officially hired as a consultant and eventual crew leader for the carpentry aspects of the renovation. "Let's celebrate with lunch," Gabriella suggested. "There's a diner around the corner that Tyler says makes amazing burgers. Lou's. It's one of our favorites." Lily loves their chocolate milkshakes. At the diner, they settled into a booth by the window. Lou himself came over to greet Mason by name and take their orders. "The usual for you, Mason, and for the lovely lady. I'll have what he's having," Gabriella said. If Mason's a regular, he must know the best options. After Lou left, Mason chuckled. "I hope you like bacon cheeseburgers with extra pickles and hand-cut fries." "Sounds perfect," she said. "So, how did you and Tyler become friends? We were neighbors as kids." "I was always building tree houses, and Tyler was always falling out of them. Somehow, that translated to a lifelong friendship. He speaks very highly of you. He's a good guy, even if he does meddle too much." Mason took a sip of water. "He was the one who got me through the worst days after Jenny died." Gabriella's expression softened. "Would it be okay if I asked about her?" Most people avoided the topic of his late wife, afraid of upsetting him. Mason found Gabriella's straightforward approach refreshing. "Jenny was a kindergarten teacher. We met in college. I was studying architecture before I dropped out to help my dad's carpentry business when he got sick. She was the most patient person I've ever known, which made her perfect with kids." "Like Lily," Mason smiled. "Especially with Lily. She was diagnosed with breast cancer when Lily was 2. We thought she'd beaten it, but it came back aggressively a year later." "I'm sorry," Gabriella said, reaching across the table to briefly touch his hand. "She sounds like she was amazing." She was. "She made me promise not to let grief keep me from living." Mason shrugged. "I'm still working on that part." Their food arrived, and the conversation shifted to lighter topics. Mason learned that Gabriella had traveled extensively but considered Philadelphia her home base. She was passionate about community development and education, which was why she'd taken on the community center project. What she didn't mention was her net worth, or the fact that she wasn't merely consulting on the project, she was funding most of it. Over the next 2 weeks, Mason found himself spending more time with Gabriella as the renovation plans took shape. They developed an easy rapport, with Gabriella often bringing coffee when they met early and asking thoughtful questions about Lily. One Friday afternoon, as they finalized some design elements, Gabriella hesitated before gathering her courage. "Mason, there's a children's science museum exhibit opening tomorrow in Philadelphia. I have tickets, and I wondered if you and Lily might want to join me." Mason looked up from the blueprints, surprised. "That sounds like something Lily would love, but I don't want to impose on your weekend." "You wouldn't be imposing. I'd enjoy the company, and honestly, going to a children's exhibit alone would be a bit strange." Mason chuckled. "You make a good point. Lily has been talking about dinosaurs non-stop since they covered them in school last month." "Perfect. This exhibit has an entire section on paleontology with interactive displays." The next day, Mason and Lily waited at the local train station. He'd explained to his daughter that they were going on an adventure with his friend Gabriella, and Lily had been ecstatic, particularly when dinosaurs were mentioned. Instead of arriving by train as Mason expected, Gabriella pulled up in her Audi. "I thought we could drive together," she explained. "It's more convenient than managing train schedules." Mason hesitated, not wanting to seem like he expected special treatment, but Lily was already admiring the car. "Your car is so shiny. Is it new?" she asked. Gabriella laughed. "Not brand new, but I take good care of it." She knelt to Lily's level. "I hear you're quite the dinosaur expert. I'm counting on you to teach me all about them today." Lily beamed. "I know lots about T-Rex and Triceratops. They're my favorites." The drive to Philadelphia was filled with Lily's excited chatter about dinosaurs, her school, and her best friend Emma. Mason occasionally tried to redirect her enthusiasm, worried she was overwhelming Gabriella, but Gabby seemed genuinely entertained by Lily's conversation. The museum was crowded with families, but Gabriella led them past the main line to a separate entrance. "I got special tickets," she explained when Mason raised an eyebrow. It includes a guided tour of the paleontology lab that's not part of the regular exhibit. Lily was enthralled by everything the interactive displays, the massive dinosaur skeletons, and especially the lab where real paleontologists showed them how fossils were cleaned and preserved. Mason watched his daughter's excitement with joy, but he also found himself watching Gabriella. She knelt beside Lily to examine displays, answered her endless questions patiently, and seemed genuinely interested in fostering the little girl's curiosity. There was no condescension or forced enthusiasm, just authentic engagement. During lunch at the museum cafe, Lily excused herself to visit the bathroom, which was visible from their table. "You're amazing with her," Mason said once she was out of earshot. "Not everyone knows how to talk to kids without talking down to them." Gabriella smiled. "She makes it easy." "She's bright and curious, a wonderful combination. Thank you for this. It's been a while since we've had an adventure day like this." "I'm enjoying it as much as you are," Gabriella admitted. "Maybe more. My work keeps me traveling so much that days like this are rare." "What exactly do you do?" Mason asked. "You've mentioned consulting and contracts, but I'm still not clear on the details." Gabriella seemed to consider her answer carefully. "I oversee investments and development projects for a family foundation. It's mostly behind-the-scenes work." Before Mason could ask more questions, Lily returned, and the moment passed. After the museum, Gabriella suggested visiting an ice cream shop she knew. The small parlor made homemade ice cream with unusual flavors. Lily chose bubblegum, while Mason and Gabriella both selected dark chocolate with sea salt. "You have excellent taste," Gabriella told Mason with a smile. "Great minds think alike," he replied, finding it easier to flirt than he'd expected. Something about Gabriella put him at ease. As they walked back to the car, Lily slipped her small hand into Gabriella's. Mason watched, his heart squeezing with emotion. It was the first time Lily had initiated physical contact with any woman since Jenny died. The drive home was quieter, with Lily falling asleep in the back seat. Mason and Gabriella talked softly about their childhoods, favorite books, and dreams they'd put aside. "I wanted to build custom furniture," Mason admitted. "Not just repairs and renovations, but one-of-a-kind pieces that would become family heirlooms." "Why didn't you pursue that?" "Life. Dad got sick, then I got married, then Lily came along, then Jenny got sick. There was always something more important than my personal ambitions." "But you haven't forgotten that dream," Gabriella observed. "No, I suppose I haven't." When they arrived back in town, Mason invited Gabriella in for coffee. His small rented house was modest but meticulously maintained, with thoughtful touches that made it a home. Lily's artwork displayed on the refrigerator, bookshelves Mason had built himself, and a small memorial corner with Jenny's photograph. Mason carried the sleeping Lily to her bedroom while Gabriella waited in the living room. When he returned, he found her examining a small wooden music box on the mantel. "Did you make this?" she asked. Mason nodded. "It was a gift for Jenny when Lily was born." "I still make things occasionally when I can find the time and materials." "It's beautiful," Gabriella said sincerely. "You have a genuine talent." Over coffee, they continued talking until Mason realized it was nearly midnight. "I've kept you far too late," he said apologetically. "I hadn't even noticed the time," Gabriella admitted. "I should go, though. I have calls in the morning." At the door, there was a moment of hesitation before Gabriella leaned in and kissed Mason's cheek. "Thank you for sharing your day with me," she said softly. After she left, Mason touched his cheek, feeling simultaneously guilty for enjoying another woman's company and hopeful that perhaps he was finally ready to move forward. The following week brought heavy spring rains. Mason was working late at the community center when his phone rang. It was Mrs. Peterson, his elderly neighbor who watched Lily after school. "Mason, I hate to bother you, but the roof is leaking badly over my spare bedroom where Lily usually plays. She's fine, but I'm afraid the ceiling might get worse." "I'll be right there," Mason promised. He was gathering his tools when Gabriella walked in. "Everything okay?" she asked, noting his concerned expression. Mason explained the situation. "I need to go fix it right away. Mrs. Peterson is 82, she can't have a leaking roof, especially with Lily there." I'll drive you, Gabriella offered immediately. It'll be faster than your truck in this weather. When they arrived, they found Mrs. Peterson trying to manage multiple buckets catching water while Lily helped by mopping the floor with towels that were already soaked through. Daddy. The ceiling is crying, Lily exclaimed. Mason quickly assessed the damage. The shingles must have shifted. I need to get up there and cover it before more water gets in. In this storm, Gabriella looked concerned. Is that safe? I've done it before. I just need to secure a tarp until the rain stops. At least let me help, she insisted. I can hold the ladder or pass you tools. To Mason's surprise, Gabriella kicked off her designer shoes and followed him out into the rain. She held the ladder steadily while he climbed onto the roof with a tarp and tools. The rain was relentless, soaking them both within minutes. Mason worked quickly, securing the tarp over the damaged section. When he climbed back down, he found Gabriella completely drenched but still steadfastly holding the ladder. You're amazing, he said spontaneously. Most people wouldn't stand in a downpour to help a stranger's roof. Mrs. Peterson and Lily aren't strangers to me, she replied simply. Inside, Mrs. Peterson insisted they both change into dry clothes. For Mason, she had some of her late husband's things. For Gabriella, she offered her own robe while she put their wet clothes in the dryer. They sat in Mrs. Peterson's kitchen, drinking hot tea while Lily told them an elaborate story about how the rain was actually tears from a giant who was sad because he lost his favorite toy. What kind of toy did the giant lose? Gabriella asked, playing along. A teddy bear as big as our house, Lily declared. That's why there's so much crying. Mason watched them interact, feeling something shift in his heart. Gabriella fit so naturally into their little world, never forcing her way in but seamlessly becoming part of conversations, helping without being asked, and genuinely caring about both him and Lily. When their clothes were dry and the rain had lightened, Gabriella drove them home. Mason invited her in again, and this time they worked together to make dinner for Lily. You don't have to help with this, Mason said as Gabriella chopped vegetables for a simple pasta dish. I want to, she replied. Besides, my cooking skills are limited. I'm learning from a master here. Mason laughed. Hardly a master, I just learned out of necessity. After dinner and after Lily was in bed, Mason and Gabriella sat on the couch, a respectable distance between them. I should tell you something, Gabriella said, her expression serious. I haven't been entirely forthcoming about my work. Mason felt a flutter of anxiety. Are you married? In witness protection, a secret agent, she laughed, the tension breaking. Nothing quite so dramatic. The family foundation I mentioned, it's mine. I'm the CEO of Evans Enterprises. Mason looked blank. You haven't heard of it, she asked, surprised. Should I have? Most people have. We're a multinational corporation with interests in technology, renewable energy, and real estate development. Mason's brow furrowed. Wait, are you saying you're wealthy? Yes. Very wealthy. Gabriella watched his face carefully. I didn't mention it because people tend to act differently when they know. Like how? Mason asked. They want things, or they feel intimidated, or they see dollar signs instead of me. She looked down at her hands. Tyler's the only one in town who knows. I asked him to keep it quiet so I could just be Gabriella for once, not the Evans heiress. Mason processed this information. So the community center is primarily funded by my foundation, yes. But the project is genuine, this town needs it, and I want to help. Why here, though? There must be thousands of communities that need help. Gabriella smiled softly. Tyler and I went to college together. He told me about his hometown, how the economic downturn had affected it, and specifically about the community center where he spent his childhood. It seemed like a good place to make a difference. Mason sat back, trying to reconcile the woman he'd come to know with this new information. So you're a billionaire who stands in the rain holding ladders and eats at Lou's Diner. I'm just a person, Mason. The money is a circumstance of my birth, not who I am, he nodded slowly. I appreciate you telling me. It doesn't change how I see you, though. You're still the woman who talked dinosaurs with Lily for 3 hours and knows exactly how I take my coffee. Relief flooded Gabriella's face. That means more to me than you know. As weeks passed, Gabriella became a regular presence in Mason and Lily's life. She joined them for movie nights, helped Lily with a science project, and continued working alongside Mason at the community center. Mason found himself falling for her, not her wealth, but her kindness, intelligence, and the way she truly saw him as an equal despite their vastly different financial situations. One evening, after Lily was asleep, they sat on Mason's small porch swing. "I need to go back to Philadelphia next week," Gabriella said. "There are board meetings I can't miss." Mason nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. "Of course, you have responsibilities." "Come with me," she said suddenly. "You and Lily, you could see where I live, meet some of my friends." "Gabby, I don't know if that's a good idea. Your world is very different from ours." "It's just a place, Mason. The people who matter won't care that you're a carpenter instead of a CEO." Mason hesitated. "What if they do, though? What if they make Lily feel like she doesn't belong?" "She's already lost so much, I can't put her in situations where she might feel inadequate." Gabriella took his hand. "I would never let anyone make Lily feel that way. The friends I want you to meet are genuine people. And I'm not asking you to fit into my world, I'm asking if there's room in yours for me." Mason looked into her eyes, seeing the vulnerability there. "There's been room for you since that first day at Tyler's. I just never thought someone like you would want a life like mine. Someone like me." She challenged gently. "Someone who could go anywhere, do anything, be with anyone. And I choose to be here with you and Lily." She leaned closer. "I'm falling in love with both of you, Mason. The money doesn't matter. It matters a little," he admitted. "Not because I want it, but because I wonder what I could possibly offer you that you don't already have." "A home," she said simply. "Not a house, I have several of those, but a real home, with love and laughter and someone who sees me for who I really am." Mason closed the distance between them, kissing her softly. "In that case, I think we'd love to see Philadelphia." The following week found Mason and Lily wide-eyed as Gabriella's driver pulled up to her penthouse apartment overlooking Rittenhouse Square. The doorman greeted Gabriella by name, and the elevator required a special key to access the top floor. "Your house is in the sky," Lily exclaimed as they entered the spacious, elegantly decorated apartment. "It is," Gabriella agreed. "Would you like a tour?" As Lily ran ahead to explore, Mason took in the art on the walls, the floor-to-ceiling windows, and the evidence of Gabriella's world travels in artifacts tastefully displayed throughout. "This is incredible," he said honestly. "But it doesn't feel lived in." Gabriella nodded. "It never has. I travel so much that it's more of a landing pad than a home." That evening, they attended a charity gala where Gabriella was being honored for her foundation's work. Mason had worried about feeling out of place in his one good suit, but Gabriella's closest friends were warm and welcoming. "So you're the man who's captivated our Gabby," said an older woman who introduced herself as Gabriella's former teacher and mentor. "She hasn't stopped talking about you and your daughter." "I think it's the other way around," Mason replied. "Gabby has captivated us." Across the room, he could see Lily sitting with Gabriella at the head table, chatting animatedly with the distinguished-looking man next to her, who turned out to be the mayor. Later that night, after they'd put Lily to bed in the guest room, Gabriella led Mason to her private terrace overlooking the city lights. "What did you think?" she asked. "I think you're amazing. Everyone there respects you not because of your name or money, but because of the work you do." She smiled. "And how did you feel? Uncomfortable? Out of place?" "Honestly, I felt proud to be with you," Mason admitted. "And a little intimidated, but not in the way I expected. It wasn't about the wealth, it was about the impact you have, the difference you make in people's lives." Gabriella moved closer to him. "You make a difference too, Mason. Every house you repair is someone's home. Every structure you build creates spaces for life to happen. And what you've done for Lily, raising her with such love and stability after losing her mother, that's more meaningful than any donation I've ever made." Mason wrapped his arms around her waist. "I think we're good for each other." "I think so too," she agreed, leaning up to kiss him. The weekend in Philadelphia was followed by many more visits in both directions. Mason found himself growing comfortable in Gabriella's world, while she seemed increasingly at home in his small house, often preferring it to her luxury apartment. 6 months after they met, the renovated community center was ready for its grand reopening. Mason had led the carpentry team, creating beautiful, functional spaces that would serve the town for generations. Gabriella had overseen the project from start to finish, working alongside local officials to ensure it met the community's needs. The night before the opening, Mason took Gabriella to his workshop behind his house, a small space where he created furniture when he had the time and materials. "I wanted to show you something," he said, pulling a cloth off a piece in the corner. Gabriella gasped. It was an exquisite writing desk with intricate inlay work featuring lilies and vines. "Mason, it's magnificent." She ran her fingers over the smooth surface. "This is museum quality." "It's yours," he said. "I started it after our first weekend together. I wanted to make something special for you. This must have taken hundreds of hours," she said, awe in her voice. "It did. I worked on it whenever I could, usually after Lily was asleep." Gabriella turned to him, tears in her eyes. "No one has ever created something like this for me. All my life, people have given me expensive gifts, but nothing made with their own hands with this much thought and time and skill." Mason took her hands in his. "I love you, Gabby. Not because of what you have or what you can do for me, but because of who you are, your heart, your mind, the way you love Lily, the way you see the good in everyone. I never thought I'd find love again after Jenny, but you showed me that my heart had room to grow. I love you too, Mason. You've changed how I see everything: success, happiness, home. I was so focused on changing the world that I forgot to build a life worth living in it." The next day, the community center opening was a success. The town turned out in force to celebrate the revitalized space, which now featured an expanded library, computer lab, sports facilities, and arts center. During the reception, Gabriella stood with Mason and Lily, watching children explore the new playground equipment. "I have something to ask you both," she said nervously. "Mason, I know we've only known each other for 6 months, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life." She knelt down to Lily's level first. "Lily, I love your dad very much, and I love you too. Would it be okay with you if I asked your dad to marry me?" Lily's eyes widened. "You want to be my stepmom. I would be honored to be your stepmom if you'll have me." Lily threw her arms around Gabriella's neck. "Yes, can you live at our house? And can I be the flower girl?" Gabriella laughed, hugging her back. "If your dad says yes, then absolutely." She stood and faced Mason, who was watching with shining eyes. "Mason Sawyer, will you marry me? I want to build a life with you and Lily, not in my penthouse or your small house, but in a home we create together." Mason pulled her into his arms. "Yes," he said simply. 1,000 times yes. 1 year later, they were married in the garden of a historic house they had purchased and renovated together on the outskirts of town. It was large enough to give them space, but modest enough to feel like home. Mason had converted the carriage house into his furniture workshop, where he now created commissioned pieces that were quickly gaining recognition in the design world. Gabriella had relocated her foundation's headquarters to a nearby city, allowing her to work from home most days. She traveled less and spent more time developing community projects that created jobs and opportunities in economically disadvantaged areas. At their wedding reception, Tyler gave a toast that had everyone laughing and wiping away tears. "When I introduced these two, I knew they were perfect for each other." Mason thought he was just meeting a consultant. Gabriella thought she was just meeting a carpenter. Neither of them realized they were meeting the person who would complete them. Here's to seeing people for who they truly are, not what they have or what they lack. Mason and Gabriella looked at each other, remembering that first meeting in Tyler's living room. The journey from strangers to spouses had been unexpected but perfect in its own way. Later that evening, as they swayed together during their first dance, Lily joined them on the dance floor and Mason lifted her into his arms. "Are we a forever family now?" she asked. "We absolutely are," Gabriella assured her, leaning in to kiss Mason over Lily's head. Mason's hand found Gabriella's, their fingers intertwining. Her wedding band, a simple gold ring he had designed and crafted himself, caught the light. The most valuable thing in his world wasn't her billions or his growing reputation as a master craftsman. It was this moment, this love, this family they had built together. In the end, they had both found exactly what they needed: not a fairy tale of a poor man rescued by a wealthy woman's generosity, but a true partnership built on mutual respect, understanding, and love. Mason had given Gabriella the gift of being seen for herself, not her wealth. And Gabriella had shown Mason that moving forward didn't mean leaving the past behind, but rather building upon its foundation. As the stars appeared overhead, and their friends and family celebrated around them, they knew that the greatest fortune they shared wasn't measured in dollars, but in the life they would continue to craft together, one day at a time.